Houston is much more than oil and aerospace. A recent study showed that Houston, TX is the number of 2 city in the country for jobs connected to maritime through the moving of cargo between US ports. Only nearby New Orleans has more workers in the maritime industry. When you add up to workers from all Texas ports, it puts Texas as the number of 3 states in the US in cargo transportation between American ports. The port of Hudson includes over 200 private and public terminals handling over 8,200 sea-going vessels and 215,000 barges every year. Thousands of maritime employees call the Hudson area home. It should come as no surprise then that there are multitude of maritime injury cases in Hudson. Maritime workers who are injured at sea do not have many of the resources that land-based workers do and often have to hire a maritime injury lawyers in Hudson to protect their rights and help the recover losses that stem from their maritime injury. Houston Maritime Attorneys. Houston Maritime Lawyers are plentiful and they know admiralty law. Maritime law inside out, but experience is key as an elite maritime injury lawyer. Founder Patrick Daniel has litigated hundreds of maritime injury cases and has substantial recoveries for his clients. But this process requires more than a successful courtroom attorney. Maritime work is grueling, unfollowing, and raw, and any Houston, Texas lawyers who aspires to represent maritime workers had better know the work as well as he knows the law. That's what sets Patrick Daniel Law ahead of other law times in Houston, Texas. He knows the work. He grew in Louisiana and has 20 years experience in 19 maritime cases, some of it from the other side of the courtroom. Working at sea, it's a different world out there. There are literally hundreds of maritime companies in Hudson, and even though they claim to appreciate their employees and the sacrifices they make, you are only one fall on a slippery deck or one tumbling pallet of cargo in heavy seas from discovering how much or how little they truly do care. If you are injured at sea, don't assume your employer will compensate you fairly and make sure your medical bills are covered. Any one of a host of Hudson Maritime Lawyers will quickly point out that the ball game changes drastically when an injury occurs. Not only that, but the rules are different for maritime employers and land-based employees. Defendants in maritime law cases try to hide behind the nurtures of maritime law, having the injured party is not up to speed on them. For instance, workman's comp does not apply to injury suffered while at sea, but thanks to the Federal Jones Act, maritime workers have the ability to sue their employees for compensation, and employers are held accountable to provide reasonably safe working conditions and to maintain their vessels so that they are safe and seaworthy. Maritime law and admiralty law are the same thing. So, what does maritime mean anyway? Literally, maritime regards anything consonant with the sea. This can be applied to commercial shipping and transportation or military activity. The seat of laws governing maritime activity are known as admiralty law, a term used interchangeably with maritime law. Maritime law does differ from the law of the sea, which governs international trade, minerals rights, jurisdiction over coastal waters, treaties, and relations between countries. Admiralty cases are more local in concept, involving civil suits, individuals, companies, and representatives of those companies. When to call a maritime lawyer? The quick answer to the question of when you should call a lawyer after an accident at sea is as soon as your ship docks in Houston. If you have cell phone, Wi-Fi access, and the privilege of making personal phone calls on board, call or contact an attorney as soon as you can. If your ship allows workers to make personal calls, the management cannot take action against you if you use your time to call any attorney. A common mistake some workers make is trying to appear to be a team player who doesn't want to stir things up with the threat of a lion. There could be quite a price to pay in order to protect an image that will not even benefit you in the long run. A lot of Houston Maritime workers of former workers who cannot work anytime wish they had called an attorney promptly after their accident. The Merchant Marine Act, Jones Act of 1920. Once you sail out of Hudson and leave the national boundaries of the United States, even you are US citizen employed by US-based company on a ship registered in the USA, some laws designed for your protection no longer apply. Fortunately, other laws move into play that restore some of those protections, but in different manner. Such law is the Merchant Marine Act. It is an exceptions law that includes regulations governing maritime commerce in U.S. waters between U.S. ports. Section 27 of the Merchant Marine Act, known as the Jones Act, requires that commerce between U.S. ports be transported only by American-built vessels. The Merchant Marine Act and the Jones Act are often used synonymously, but in actuality, the Jones Act is a part of the Merchant Marine Act. The Jones Act also includes provisions that have seafaring workers' rights at their core. Those provisions include, among many others, the owner of the vessels must use reasonable care to maintain it for safety and security. The owner can be found liable if it is found negligent and the negligence led to any injury. Qualifying sailors who have suffered injuries or illness while at sea can recover appropriate compensation from their employers by laws if necessary. The nation of vessels seaworthiness is extremely important, as it can move a case from on where the best outcome would be the recovery of basic expenses to the where all of the victims' losses are recoverable. Don't try to determine by yourself if you have a case or fling. Despite all the blogs and websites that try to advise you on a die-counter strategy, make the smart move and call on attorney Patrick. Daniel has won so many admirable cases that he can generally recognize a winnable case in just the first few minutes of a free consultation. If Patrick Daniel law accepts your case, the legal fee will come out of the final settlement and you will have no out of pocket expense.